Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The hour is 7 o'clock, and as mayor, I hereby call to order this special meeting of the Laconia City Council for June 29th, 2015. As always, we'll start with a salute to our American flag. Please rise and join Councilor Brenda Baer in a recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes of tonight's meeting for the record are being taken by City Clerk Mary Reynolds, and I would ask her to please call the roll.
Counselor Doyle.
Here.
Counselor Bounds.
Here.
Counselor Littman.
Here.
Counselor Bear.
Present.
Counselor Hamel.
Here.
Counselor Baldick.
Here.
Presiding Mayor Edward Engler.
Better go with present tonight, it sounds like. Even things out some. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the only piece of business at this special meeting of the council tonight is a public hearing. So as a formality, I will open this public hearing at 1 minute past 7 o'clock and state for the record that the purpose of holding this public hearing tonight is the finding of benefit of the Colonial Theater renovation project for the public purposes of redevelopment of an underutilized structure, the benefit of having civic auditorium space, improvement of the local tax base, and creation of employment opportunities. Notice of this public hearing was made in the Thursday, June 18, 2015 edition of the Laconia Daily Sun. It was also posted at City Hall, the Gale Memorial Library, the Laconia Community Center, and the offices of the Laconia School District. Before we open the hearing for public comment, I would like to take just a moment in case there's anyone in the room who doesn't understand fully what we're doing here tonight. And for that matter, well, let me do this first. The quick background on this, not on the theater itself. I think we're all familiar with the background on the theater buildings themselves. On May 26th of this year, the City Council had a non-public meeting at which it committed the city to a course of action regarding the Colonial Theater. That meeting was held in non-public session for the simple and obvious reason that negotiations were about to be underway concerning the purchase of the Colonial Theater, an effort made by the Belknap Economic Development Council or representatives thereof, and it would have significantly damaged their negotiating position to have the city's involvement in this and also their own involvement in terms of who they were and what they were doing revealed to the public. So for that reason, the action was taken in non-public session and was revealed for the first time at a press conference that was held on June 15th. And the highlights of that action I would like to briefly review as to what exactly the city has committed to via that May 26th vote. On that May 26th vote, the resolution that was passed committed the city to loan the Belknap Economic Development Council for the purchase price that will enable the sale to be closed in approximately 30 days. BEDC will pay interest only, not interest-free, as has been reported in some quarters. Interest only for a term of up to 18 months, and the loan will be secured by the real estate purchased. So that's what we're calling loan number one. The city is going to loan the Belknap Economic Development Council the purchase price, which is $1.4 million, so that that sale can be closed quickly. And I believe the purchase and sales agreement that's been signed by the owner calls for that sale to be closed no later than July 17th. Secondly, an interest-only loan to Belknap Economic Development Council for between $2 and $3 million that will help facilitate a closing on the Colonial Theater restoration and renovation project in approximately 12 to 18 months' time. The term of that note will be 7 years, and again, the real estate will secure the loan. And once again, that loan will be interest-only for the 7-year term of the note. So basically what's going to happen here is there are going to be 2 closings. The first closing is going to happen fairly quickly here within the month. At that point in time, Belknap Economic Development Council, or a subsidiary LLC, Limited Liability Corporation, owned wholly by the Belknap Economic Development Council, will become the owner of the property. And then the work of putting together the renovation financing package, which will amount to an estimated 14 point something million dollars in total, rounded off $15 million in total, will have to be put together. And a large component of that financing is federal income tax credits. So that's going to take some time, paperwork to fill out, applications to be made, et cetera, et cetera. There's a fundraising component of this. There are other grants that will be applied for. There is a plan of action. It is expected that it will take 12 to 18 months to put this entire renovation financing package together. At the end of that period of time, there will be a second closing, and that's for the renovation project itself. At that second closing, the city will be repaid its original note, the $1.4 million purchase price. So the city gets that money back at that point in time, at the second closing. Then what will happen is the city will, as part of the overall renovation financing plan, the city will loan an expected sum of somewhere between $2 and $3 million to the new entity to help finance the renovation project itself. And the term of that loan will be 7 years, interest only. And the reason that it's 7 years is because the federal income tax credits that are at the heart of this project require that all parties stay a party to it for 7 years and that no principal be repaid within that 7 years. So that's where the 7 years comes from. Okay, so then the third commitment is that the city will become the sole tenant of the Colonial Theater Auditorium for the first 7 years after renovation work has been completed. Again, that 7-year term dictated by federal income tax credit policy. The facility will be operated as a civic auditorium, with the city determining who uses it and what cost, at what cost, if any. So the city becomes the sole tenant on the day the renovation work is completed and the building is considered ready for occupancy for a total of 7 years. Securing the second loan, that's the $2.3 million loan. Included in that loan will be an option granted to the city by BEDC to purchase the auditorium from BEDC at the end of the 7-year loan period for an amount equal to the face value of the note. So at the end of 7 years of operating the auditorium as a civic auditorium, the city will have the option of converting the note, the face value of the note, to outright ownership of the theater itself, the lobby, and theater-related places, not to the other parts of the real estate, including the commercial and residential real estate. So in effect, what would happen if the city exercised that option is the building would be turned into a condominium, if you will, and the auditorium would be the part of the condominium that the city would take ownership of for the face value of the note. If the city decides at the end of that 7 years not to exercise its option, the note for $2 to $3 million will become due and payable at that time back to the city. The reason we're having a public hearing tonight is that RSA 33:3 authorizes New Hampshire municipalities to become financially involved for the purposes of economic development in private-public partnerships if the public benefit is found to outweigh any benefit accruing to a private party. To that end, we're having this hearing tonight on the issue of on the subject of public benefit, with our intent tonight, after listening to you, to pass a resolution declaring that such a public benefit exists in this case. So while technically the subject of this hearing is the issue of public benefit to this project, obviously we expect that some of you, if perhaps all of you who wish to speak tonight, will want to speak more broadly to the subject, and you're welcome to do so. But technically, in other words, we're not having a public hearing tonight to vote whether or not to do this. We've already done that. Make that clear. That vote was taken back on May 26th. Tonight's will is to determine and declare that there is a public benefit to doing this. Okay? Now, I'll also mention that if any of you, I think there were copies of this downstairs, but if any of you would like to see a summary of what I just went over for your own purposes or whatnot, I have copies here, and I'll have the clerk put them on the table over here. And you're more than welcome to help yourself to that if that would be helpful to you. Okay, so I think we're ready to open this up. Sorry, Councilor Littman.
Before we, after you have the hearing part, before we get into the resolution consideration, that we'll be able to have a timeout to speak to you.
Yes, yeah. So what we're going to do here is we're going to open this up to public comment. We would technically ask that no speaker go longer than 5 minutes. Given how many people here tonight, I would ask that all of you be respectful as to how many people there are here and would like to speak, and to be as concise as you possibly can. And we would all thank you for that. Once we've heard from the public in its entirety, I will call upon individual council members to offer their opinions on the matter at hand tonight as well, and then we will have a resolution for consideration at that point in time. So first up tonight, I see in our audience former Mayor Rod Dyer, and I would like to recognize Mr. Dyer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. I appear before the council wearing essentially two hats. I think it was in 2010, the city manager, with the advice and consent of the city council, appointed a citizens advisory committee to look into the feasibility of restoring the Colonial Theater. That committee then morphed into what is now called the Cultural Arts Committee. So I appear as the chairman of the Cultural Arts Committee, and I also appear as chairman emeritus of the Bank of New Hampshire, speaking on behalf of our president, Mark Primo, who could not be here this evening. He did submit a letter, and I'll just briefly quote from it. I am writing to support the proposed plan to extend a loan to the Belknap EDC to facilitate the purchase of the Colonial Theater. This is a critically important opportunity for the city of Laconia. The acquisition and restoration of the theater is key to the revitalization of the downtown. It will also serve as an important civic and cultural resource that will be valued for generations to come. After many years of effort and failed attempts to save the theater, this is the time to take a stand for the future of our city. As one of the oldest and largest businesses in Laconia, Bank of New Hampshire supports this proposal and will support as much as possible the process to create a thriving and dynamic civic facility for the people of our city and the Lakes region. Approximately 2 years ago, I had the unenviable task of appearing before the mayor and council to inform you that our committee was unable to come to a resolution as far as the price was concerned, as far as the Colonial Theater was also concerned. So I said at that time that I thought maybe that was the last best hope. I now retract that, because I think tonight is the last best hope for the Colonial Theater. And during the process of our committee endeavors, we did find a number of facts that I think are relevant to tonight's hearing. And I'll very briefly go through them, Your Honor, being mindful of the five-minute rule. We did a needs assessment, and it was dated December 31, 2010. And some of the facts established as a result of that process would be as follows. The Colonial Theater used to be the anchor attraction that drew people into downtown Laconia. As a result of its closing, Laconia has effectively lacked an anchor attraction for over 20 years. Downtown Laconia does not presently have a healthy business mix and suffers from higher than average vacancy rates. A survey of the downtown core revealed that the vacancy rate was higher than 20%. Healthy downtown retail districts have vacancy rates of 10% or lower. The reason that other efforts to revitalize the downtown Laconia have not been as fruitful as any of us would wish is because the Colonial Theater continues to sit empty as a black hole in the heart of the downtown. It is a significant missing link in Laconia's downtown revitalization. We believe that the Colonial Theater will change the dynamics of downtown Laconia in major ways. One would be to create additional business opportunities. Another would be to reduce vacancies as far as the businesses in the downtown core area are concerned. Another one would be the creation of additional jobs. Another one would be to improve the sense of place in the downtown Laconia area, and I think we all understand what that means. Additionally, we believe that the revitalization of the Colonial will support the city's long-term goal of retaining and attracting young people. It was estimated 4 years ago that the revitalization of the Colonial Theater would bring in at least $1 million per annum in additional sales for the core area. I think that's vastly undervalued, and I believe that it'll prove to be significantly more as far as that's concerned. Various uses have been envisioned for the Colonial, and we believe that that will bring a diversity of people to downtown Laconia. And as I stated earlier, I really believe that this is the last best opportunity for the city to save this treasured artifact in our community. So thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. I also see in the audience tonight the chairman of the Laconia School Board, Joe Cormier. Mr. Cormier, would you like to address us tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I thought it would be important for us to talk about what we actually have now and what we're using for an auditorium, and that being the high school auditorium. We've had much discussion about the size of the auditorium and the needs within the high school of that auditorium to fit the needs of the public and the events that we would like to have here in Laconia. The conversations around the high school auditorium, it definitely needs some work. It's woefully undersized for community events. The seating is about 300, and there are many events that we would have that would be much more than that. As a longtime member of the community, I remember the Colonial Theater when it was in its heyday, and I remember coming downtown to downtown Laconia, and it was a great place to come and see shows and to hang out downtown. And I hear what Mr. Dyer is saying about a central point, and I think that's a great idea to have something downtown to attract more. The high school auditorium is just too small to hold any larger events. If we wanted to have graduations there, we wouldn't be able to. There's not enough seating. The Putnam Fund used to be in the Colonial. Now they've moved it over to the high school. Again, 300 seats is not adequate. I support very much so the fact that we're going to do something with the Colonial and brighten up our downtown. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Cormier brings up a good point, and I will I will state for the record, in case anyone else is thinking about the same thing, the original seating capacity, I believe, of the Colonial Theater was listed in the 1,200 range. With modern aisle requirements and seating widths, which have changed in 100 years significantly, we're estimating that the renovated theater capacity would be something in the 800 to 900 range. Okay, looking at my list here, I would next recognize, now, by the way, we asked you to sign up to speak as you came in tonight downstairs. If anybody missed that, don't worry. At the end of this, we'll catch other people who may not have been able to put their name on the list. Next up, I would recognize Mary Divers.
Thank you very much. I am the director of the New Horizons Band of the Lakes region, and this would be a fantastic place to open up to local performing groups, to be able to put on local productions, theater, music, have art displays. It could be just a wonderful place for us to have. Also, I have a place in my heart for the Colonial Theater. When I was in high school, I worked at the Colonial Theater, and I could get through that whole thing with all the lights out. And if it could fit 800 to 900 people, I think that would be fabulous for the city of Laconia. And there's no doubt in my mind that that will bring other businesses back. It's happened in Lebanon. I think it's happened to a certain degree in Claremont. Certainly, if you look at the Capitol Arts for the Center, Capitol Center for the Arts, I'm sorry, and what's been happening in Portsmouth as of late, it's working everywhere else. Laconia needs help. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure I'm going to make a mess of more than one name tonight on the list. Next up is Melissa Bigler. Yes. Okay, Melissa, welcome.
Thank you. I would just like to say I've been a longtime member of the Laconia community. I graduated high school here in 1999. I really appreciate what the Colonial will have to offer this community, not only in business endeavors, but what a great asset it's going to be to the theatrical community, be it music or performing arts. We can have graduations there. I think that's just really what we need to bring the community together and to see more growth in the business development and have a greater sense of community. We are bringing in the coffee festival, the pumpkin festival. The possibilities in this area are endless. We just need something to bring people in, to want to stay, to want to shop downtown, to want to enjoy what we have to offer. Thank you.
Thank you. Alfred Collum.
Thank you.
Welcome.
This is some of the greatest news I've heard in a long, long time for Laconia. Hallelujah. I think it's a real shot in the arm. And I can just picture afternoon and nightlife for all the activities that are going to be going on in the theater. And even picture vendors and musicians on the street and so on. So all the special events. Meredith has a TV ad that says, come to Meredith to eat, to shop, and for the theater. They have 2 theaters there. They're very successful. So I think maybe Laconia could be doing something like this. But also, thank you for everybody that's been working on this. I know it's got to be a lot of work, and there's still more of a lot of work to come. But if you could push the opening up date a little bit, that would be great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Debbie Frawley-Drake.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I just have a few words. I'm very much excited and in favor of seeing this happen. We, having been a former business owner and seeing the economy, particularly in this area, be pretty flat with the empty properties and so forth, we're feeling a good sense of activity with what we've read in the paper recently with our local business, some of the local businesses starting to open downtown. And this is a project that will certainly make a big, big difference. And if I, sitting on a few boards and committees locally, can do anything to help move it along, I'm going to be there, certainly as a cheerleader, but anything else I can do to make it happen. So I'm very excited about the process and the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've got no chance on the next one. First name David, last name looks like it has 3 letters. Pine Bark Lane.
I apologize, Mayor, Council. I thought I started
That spells
signing.
Stamps, huh?
Yes, it's Stamps.
Mr. Stamps, welcome.
Maybe I should start over again. I speak as the voice of Christmas Pass, as one of the co-founders of Laconia Main Street, and there are quite a few of the directors from back then in there. Right out of the gate, what we heard is we need to get the Colonial going. The Colonial Theater was at the top of the list year after year after year. And as Rod so well knows, we took a lot of shots at the moon, but I guess you don't give up. And I won't repeat anything else except to say that the day after this was announced, you didn't have to say what you were smiling about. I really have to thank you all for sticking to this, because the biggest benefit will be intangible. It'll really help Laconia move forward, not only economically, but spiritually. It'll become a whole community. The heart will be put back into the downtown, and people will have more to be proud of. Right now, it's like a cancer in their soul. Every time they drive up or down Main Street, they just see like a tumor that needs to be excised. And if it didn't fall down, eventually somebody would have to knock it down. But thank God you've saved it in time. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate Bishop Hamill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'm speaking on behalf of Belknap Independent Business Alliance this evening. Vibrant communities are places where arts and cultural expression are encouraged and celebrated. Sustainable economic growth is cultivated. Civic engagement is considered an extension of who you are. Safety is both a community and a personal responsibility. Lifelong learning is encouraged and available. Protection of our environment and historical places is a shared value, benefiting human health and local economies. We are fortunate to have Laconia as one of those communities, where everyone can come together to support in a collaborative way, such as an effort as this renovation and restoration project of the Colonial Theater project. As an organization who seeks to strengthen a vibrant community and a sustainable local economy by promoting, educating, and advocating local independently businesses in the Lakes region, BIBA supports the city in its efforts to loan Belknap EDC the funds to purchase the Colonial Theater as a public benefit for our community. So we thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Pam Clark.
Good evening. 4 years ago, I issued a challenge to the city to get the Colonial Theater up and running again, and I'm really happy to see that it is going to happen. It's going to take a few more years, but it's going to happen. I'm here this evening on behalf of the Laconia Historical and Museum Society and the Laconia Heritage Commission to say that we support this 100%, and anything either organization can do to help, please feel free to ask. And I think this is the shot in the arm that downtown Laconia needs. And I have to admit that when I watched the press conference on Facebook, I cried through the whole thing. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Jessica Allward.
Mr. Mayor, City Councilors, thank you for having us. I'm proud to say that I currently serve as the president of the Streetcar Company Community Theater. Streetcar is the longest continually running community theater group in the Lakes region. We've been producing productions like Oliver, My Fair Lady, Les Miserables, Steel Magnolias for over 40 years. During those 4 decades, I'm sad to say that Streetcar's never had a permanent home. For a long time, we were a Laconia-based group, and we were fortunate to perform in some places like the Gardens Theater and Laconia High School. Over the last few years, those venues have become less available or fallen into disrepair. So a few years ago, we moved our major musical production every year out of Laconia. We moved into Meredith. Interlakes High School Auditorium is a great place. It has a lot of things that we need: good dressing rooms, a great performance space, adequate seating for the audience. But in our heart, Streetcar wants to be a Laconia-based group. We want to be able to have a place to call home, right here. Over the years, hundreds of local folks have worked with Streetcar, and I hope hundreds more will have the chance to showcase their talents right here in downtown Laconia. The renovation of the Colonial will not only allow groups like Streetcar to continue to thrive locally, but also offer a venue for all types of performing arts, including dance, music from all genres, improv, stand-up comedy, and more. And it will act as an anchor for a vibrant and flourishing Main Street. It isn't going to be easy, and there will be challenges, but it will be worth the effort. The Board of Directors of Streetcar and its general membership highly favor the plans for the new Colonial Center for the Arts and pledge our support in the form of time, talents, and funding. You let us know what you need, and we're there for you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Former Mayor Matt Leahy.
Good evening. It takes something really, really big to get me down here anymore, especially at this hour, but this is really, really big, and I really want to congratulate the council and Belknap County Economic Development on pulling this off. I remember when I was on the council sitting with a lot of you, we talk about downtown revitalization, and we said, well, what does that mean? You know, what does that mean from the city council and the city's standpoint? And is it something more than just providing utilities and plowing snow and so forth? And this council really has defined what that is, and that is that sometimes there are things that are so big and so important and so beneficial to the city at large that the collective resources of the city really are called upon to make it happen. And this is big for all the reasons that have been said. Historical part, just the preservation part of it, the idea of, you know, losing that building, cultural, educational, as Joe says, and the economic development part of it. So, and I love the way you rolled it out. You did it. It was unanimous. You all agreed, and it's one of the biggest things that's happened in the city in a while. And congratulations.
Thank you. Stephen Bogert.
Hi. I just wanted to say I think this was a very good idea. I moved here in 2002, and about 2003, a bond issue came up, or the library was looking at trying to reclaim itself, tear out an old section of the library, which was for the kids, and then make it new so it all matched in place. And one of the comments I made at that time was you could tell the caliber of the city by the way the library is situated and how it is represented. And at that time, the financing went through for it, and you can look at the beautiful library we have. And once again, the city has came up to that standard in trying to recreate the Colonial Theater. There's a major opportunity, not only with the theater itself, but the housing that is above it. Okay, because that's going to be another critical part of the success for downtown, is how that is also utilized in the future when it's being renovated, and the forward thinking that should be done with that, and how those apartments can positively impact the rest of the city, okay? Because it is a great big hinge. It's a domino. There's one of many dominoes that's still got to happen downtown, okay? But that's the most positive one, and it is great. Congratulations on pulling it off. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Michael Pearson.
Good evening. The last gentleman kind of stole my thunder because we're here to talk about public benefit, and we've heard a lot about the arts, and I'm in strong support of that. I've heard a lot about economic development. I'm a local business owner. Both my business and my home are within probably half a mile of the downtown, and I'm very much in favor of the Colonial project because I think it is going to provide significant economic development. But one of the points before the last gentleman came up that had not been raised really is the housing. I serve as chairman of the United Way's Financial Stability Partnership, and housing is of a large concern for us. Those units above the Colonial are some of the worst in the city, and if we are going to undertake significant economic development, we need to be able to renovate those units and make those units into ones that are livable and will attract people who are going to have money in their pockets and be able to spend it downtown. So I think there is a strong public benefit for this project, and I commend all of you for supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm past chair and current treasurer of Belknap EDC, so I'm speaking on behalf of the organization, and want to thank you for all of your support up to this date. The public benefit of this project is, there was an article in this morning's paper speaking against it, and a lot of misinformation and misnomers were put out there. One being, what's the benefit to the general public and the residential taxpayers? And the other major misinformation was that with our purchasing of this property, it's going to be coming off the tax rolls. Even though we're a 501c6, our purchase of the property does not take it off the tax rolls because we are not using it for a charitable purpose. So we will continue to be paying taxes during our ownership time. So that's the first major point. The second one is by redeveloping it and expanding the tax base and the assessed value of the property, we're adding to the tax base and reducing the burden to the residential taxpayers in hopes of further encouraging private development and private investment into the downtown area, which would further expand the tax base and further lessen the burden of the local taxpayers. So I think the public benefit far outweighs any risk that the city is taking in this proposal. So thank you.
Thank you. Dorothy Duffy.
I'm in total support of the Colonial opening again. I have been involved in many things that many of the people in the audience have spoken about. Colonial Main Street, master plans, charrettes, smart growth, Heritage Commission, Historical Society, and every time number one subject is the Colonial Theater. You ask anybody what they want to see happen to Laconia, and immediately the Colonial Theater is brought up. There are some wonderful theaters around that have opened. Colonial in Keene, Portsmouth, Concord, Manchester. I go to the one in Lebanon, I go to the one in Rochester. I have to go out of town to go to these theaters. When I went to Lebanon, I saw Chris Bodie that I just delight in seeing. And he had a young piano player with him. His name was John Legend. That's in small town New Hampshire, and that was a wonderful thrill. Those are thrills that we are missing because we don't have these kind of theaters. The Putnam Fund does turn people away at the high school. I've been turned away there. It's pathetic. It's free, and people want to go, and they can't get in. But I also want to speak on another point. The Colonial Theater is one beautiful building, and we're so lucky to have it. It's very historic. We're on the Heritage Commission and Historical Society. We're seeing too many beautiful buildings being lost, and I'm absolutely delighted if this one could be saved. And I thank this council and all the people that have come here today for supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Sawyer.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. For more than 4 decades, my life has revolved around downtown Laconia, and I'm not sure I can smile and speak at the same time, but I'm going to try. This is the biggest thing, the best thing that could happen to us, or that has happened to us in my time that's here. And I thank you and everyone else in the room for moving forward. I don't want to repeat some of the same things that have been said, but there hasn't anything been said that I can disagree with. So it's all good. Keep moving. And public purpose, I think that it really speaks for itself. I think that as we watch how society is developing, and not to use an overused phrase, but a third place is important. And I think a place of assembly, a place of culture, definitely is a public purpose. And that's something that I really think economically can only be done with the city's help. So thank you.
Thank you. John Moriarty.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. John Moriarty speaking as a business owner, as a resident of Laconia, and as the president of the Laconia Main Street Initiative. Having spent a third of my life trying to achieve what you folks did so effortlessly looking from the outside, I take my hat off to you, literally. Congratulations and nicely done. Clearly it's no doubt that you know that I'm going to speak in favor of a public benefit, because that's the strong belief that I and many others have held and never wavered on. You probably know that we did put a call out just this morning to solicit input for those who couldn't make it tonight, and I do have some packets here, and I'm wondering if Mr. Myers, you could take a copy and circulate that around. But I'll quote, there's roughly 10 letters in there. 9 of them are in support. 1 of them is in support of the project, but not in support of the public benefit. So that's a pretty good ratio, if you ask me. If you may, I'd like to call out 2 of them. Penny Patu writes in her closing, "It will help existing businesses to survive as well as enticing new businesses to move in. Count me in for yes on this project." And it's nice to hear Penny speaking so enthusiastically. And I'd just like to reiterate what Chairman Emeritus Dyer had said from Bank of New Hampshire. As one of the oldest, because it's significant, as one of the oldest and largest businesses in Laconia, Bank of New Hampshire supports this proposal and will support as much as possible the process to create a thriving and dynamic civic facility for the people of our city in the Lakes region. To offer just a few quick new thoughts, at least I think they're new, I also received an email within the last 10 days about somebody who is a lifelong resident of Laconia, who graduated from Laconia school system, went off to school, is back in Laconia, in fact is here in the room and has spoken this evening. And that individual is actually moving out of town because there are other opportunities that are in the performing arts for her family. And so I think if we look at the public benefit, understanding that being able to educate and expose our youth and the rest of our community to the arts is not insignificant. And as Stephen Bovair said, that was part of the rationale that we used in the Laconia Public Library renovation and, in fact, the school projects that have been completed to date. My Etch-a-Sketch is not going to work, so I'd like to close with just reading as quickly as I can a quote from our second president, John Adams, who reminds us, "I must study politics and war, that my son may favor liberty to study mathematics and philosophy. My sons ought to study mathematics and philosophy, geography, natural history, naval architecture, navigation, commerce, and agriculture in order to give their children a right to study painting, poetry, music, architecture, statuary, tapestry, and porcelain. So again, as David Stamps says, the true public benefit will probably be intangible. So thank you again. We stand behind you.
Thank you. Matt Sousa, did I get that right?
Mr. Mayor, City Council, I don't usually appear in venues like this, but this is one night I didn't want to miss out on. I've been lucky enough to live in Laconia since the 1980s, and I've been lucky enough to try and be able to try to give back to the community in various ways in recent years. And I remember what a sad day it was when the Laconia shuttered down. And I'm fortunate enough to feel the opposite tonight and in the last week. This is inspired and inspiring news. And I think, in particular, that it represents so much potential for this community in just about every dimension imaginable. We just had Bike Week. Imagine what we could have done with a restored and refurbished Colonial during Bike Week, from related musical events to film revivals to displays of vintage and modern bikes. On and on. You can do the same thing for everything that this community is known for. It can serve as a platform and a stage to emphasize, highlight, and focus on everything from the beach culture in summer to the winter culture on the slopes, to the active performance and cultural scenes that are going on under the radar in this community. As somebody who's interested in the arts and makes a habit of seeking these things out, there's such an active music scene in this town. Every kind of music you can imagine. Such an active performance scene. Such an active arts scene in general. A martial arts scene. A fitness bodybuilding scene. A ballroom dance scene. All of that could be highlighted through the use of this stage, this unique stage with its unique size and its unique history. Every time somebody makes a poem or does a craft, it's considered an expression of themselves. The Colonial could be a way for us to show off and express our whole community and the best of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Warren Clement.
Congratulations, guys. Belknap County, you made a wonderful decision, and everybody in the room, I think, is here to endorse that. I want to thank you for the vision, the sense of community, and the jobs that it'll bring, and can't wait to get it done. And whatever you need, I'm sure everybody in this room is ready to help. So, attaboy.
Former Mayor Paul Fitzgerald.
Savor tonight. Never again will the citizens come in and line up and thank you and congratulate you. Armand, I don't know how long you've sat here. It's been decades, not years. You've never had a night like tonight.
That's what I'm saying. Where are they when we pass the budget?
Yeah. They won't be here. In all seriousness, congratulations and thank you. Much has already been said about the public benefit. I think it's obvious. There are also other intangible benefits, and I think probably one of the largest ones is what you may have started with this particular project. There's no magic to what's going to affect downtown in a positive way. No one can be sure of what a particular plan will do, but what you have set in motion is a sea change from what we've seen throughout the city over the past several years. Frankly, I and others have watched those of you who have been on the council for quite some time, and we've wondered when the council was going to move and act to address the appearance of the city in some aspects, the empty industrial buildings, the closed storefronts, And who was going to lead this? Well, now we know. It's you, and it's tonight. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Jim Dobbinspec.
I do wear taps on the back of my shoes just to get everybody's attention as I walk.
What business are you in again?
Shoe repair, man. I just want to give my favor as well that I'm very excited to see what's going on as currently the newest member of downtown owning a building. When we looked at having to move about 4 months ago, my wife and I drove through every community in the Lakes region. We went outside of the Lakes region, and we looked at locations, we looked at buildings, we looked at ways that would make so much sense, and logic truly told us that we could go to any other community and move our business and be successful with it, but we knew that we wanted to be part of downtown Laconia and looked at the building on Canal Street and purchased it with the intent of just forcing ourselves to be committed to spend the rest of my career right here in downtown Laconia. Very, very excited about what's happened here. Very excited to be part of this community. And in the Navy, we had simple term for well done, and that was Bravo Zulu. I extend that to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Warren.
Mr. Mayor and City Councilors, thank you as well. I'm the new kid in town, been here downtown for 4 years, representing Grace Capital Church, and I also serve on the Master Plan Advisory Committee. I came into this city as a learner, as a listener, to find out what this city was all about and the history, the people, the heartbeat. And one thing that I found is this city is a unique city. It's a beautiful city. I love this city. The other thing, though, I found is there's sometimes a sense of hopelessness of saying we've tried so much, but where's going to be our chance, our time, to put our name back on the map? And there are a lot of amazing things in the city, a lot of things that have already come to place. And our momentum is building. I spent a lot of time walking Main Street in downtown, talking to shop owners. And one thing I do see, though, when the decision was made to move forward with this theater, there's something that changed. There's a change of the heart. There's this idea that we are something. We have a future. And the future is bright for us. When you announced it, Mr. Mayor, at the new Wayfair coffee shop, there was a roar of applause. People inside began to say, yes, this is our city. Yes, we can do this. And so obviously I'm saying, yes, this is good for our city. Economically, I was a land developer for many years, and I understand these projects are not easy, but for some reason, again, for such a time as this, you guys were able to pull this off in a short amount of time, and I commend you, and it is going to be phenomenal for the city, not only for the economics, but for the heart of this city. People are going to say yes, they're going to believe in this city again. Thank you.
Thank you. I've reached the end of my pre-sign-up list, so the next order of business.
There's 6 people in the hallway.
I'm sorry?
6 people in the hallway to speak.
Okay. So what I'm going to say next is to invite anyone who wasn't able to sign up before the meeting started who wishes to speak. Could someone pass that word out in the hallway? Mr. Wood? Patrick Wood?
Mr. Mayor, councilors, city manager, and all of us here, this is a very, very exciting opportunity. There's no question about it. You've heard it from many, many people. As the chair of the Downtown TIF Advisory Committee, I want you to know that we will do whatever we can to help with this process and help move it forward. When I moved downtown a number of years ago, it wasn't my first involvement with downtown. I've been involved with downtown ever since I moved to Laconia. It's, as Pastor Warren said, it's the heart and the soul of the city. And I applaud you for taking this step, because it is an opportunity for all of us to be a part of a very, very special event. And so we're in this together. This is our community. You're our leaders, and you've done a great job with it. As I said the last time I was here, think of all the things that you've accomplished, the city council, over the past 15 or so years. It's been really tremendous, and this is the crowning glory of that. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Anything we can do to help, we will be there.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else who would like to speak? Someone else over there? I'd have coaxed someone from the back. Another former mayor, all right, Mike Seymour.
Shave. Sorry, you're getting the casual. I know, I haven't shaved either, I apologize. Mr. Mayor, City Council. Yes, much shorter than last time. First thing I want to say is anytime you venture into a decision such as this, I know it comes with a greater amount of discussion, deliberation, and having worked alongside most of you for at least a 4-year period, I know that the due diligence was put in to do that, which I greatly appreciate. I know that even though it sounds like everyone's in favor of this project, but I know far too well that every decision, especially of this magnitude, is not arrived at easily, and you folks definitely put in the time and the research to make sure that it's viable for this community. So I applaud you for being not reactive but proactive in helping the city, which I know you've always been, but this is a pretty big statement that we're continuing to do that. So as a taxpayer, I greatly appreciate that. I think the other thing to remember, and also a reminder to the community, is that the Colonial Theater project is obviously a big project. It's something that will help as a catalyst to move things forward within the city. However, it's not the only thing. It's not an end-all. This isn't our only savior. It's going to help us move in that direction, but it's certainly a large step. This is where, and the reason it's a catalyst is that to have something of this magnitude and a cornerstone from which other businesses to grow, I think is part of the foresight. And we're seeing a revitalization now within the city in different sectors. Obviously, I think this will help continue to do so in a significant fashion. So I'm going to be brief. I'm not going to drone on because it's been reiterated over and over again, but I commend the City Council, again, for their reactive nature, looking to the future and looking to add greater stability, especially to the downtown corridor. As we said many times when I was on the council, that if you have enough soap, make sure you use it to wash your face. Well, I think you're using this to help wash our face a little bit, and I think this is a big step to do so. So, again, thank you, and with great appreciation.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Can't see around the corner, so I don't know. Mr. St. Clair.
We're lucky to get in. They held us at the door. I want to thank you, this council, for, like the former mayor said, for taking this step. It's obviously a big step, but I also want to thank you on behalf of my parents and a lot of other parents for people that are in the room that are no longer here, because I know they would be just thrilled and proud that the city is taking this step. This is just a win-win situation. There's going to be a lot of aggravation, a lot of work that has to be, but you guys are always doing that anyway, so it doesn't matter. We all have to just step up to it. But again, thank you all very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? We've got a bullpen around the corner there, I think.
My name's Karen Barker from Lane Road in Laconia, and I too would like to thank you all for the work that you've done in bringing this to this point in discussion, especially given how difficult these discussions have been in the past. So thank you all very much. And I think it's really important that something is done with this building before it decays much further, because what we don't want is it to go to the point where it's not recoverable. And it's an eyesore, and it just, we need to do something. So I think this is a really good thing. My concerns are the long-term viability of it, and I know that it will take a lot of creativity to figure out all the different ways that we can use that building to make it sustainable, and that will require the thinking of this entire community, and this is where that creativity thing that I notice is in the Belknap EDC's plan about encouraging creativity in the community, and we really need that for this project. I also would really like to see, to the greatest extent possible, that as renovation moves forward, that we give as much business as possible to our local craftspeople and construction folk, and keep some of our money here in our own community. And I would really, I don't know if you can make assurances like this, but I'd really like some sort of assurance that this will remain a civic resource and a civic treasure, and I don't want to see down the road this being one of those projects where a community comes together and takes a falling apart building and make it into something beautiful, and then have somebody come in and take it, or somebody get the idea, oh, let's sell it and make some money. It needs to be ours. And so, again, thank you all very much for the work that you're doing, and we'll look forward to what comes next.
Thank you, Mrs. Barker. Anyone else? That it? No one else wants to speak? Oh, we got one more. Somebody's always coming around the corner.
Councilman and Mayor, on behalf of my son that's back there and my wife, who is a longtime resident from Tilton, so we're not Laconia residents, but she went to school here.
Did you give us your name? I'm sorry.
Mike Kepfer. And so speak on behalf of my wife and my 6 children. I have 6 boys. I just wanted to speak to, I went to the theater almost 20 years ago and saw Mission Impossible. And I don't know if that was the last movie they had, but I also was engaged that year, and they often said I was a man on a mission. I have 6 boys, but I also bought and we bought a video because they were selling videos as well, and we bought the classic Mission Impossible. And I just wanted to summarize and champion not only what you're doing, but when I brought my wife to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for the last 17 years, she often talked about her city. She is a Pittsburgh fan, and we've come back here and moved in for the last 3 years and built a house, but she's often talked about her city, and that being Laconia, and she was a student and graduated from Laconia Christian. But I want to tell you, making this a mission possible, I just sat back to thinking, you've made it a mission possible. It was the last movie that I saw personally, even though I'm an outsider and even a newer kid on the block. I just thank you and congratulate you on what God is doing. I'm thankful to be part of the community and looking forward to the community in the future.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else? Okay, the next order of business here, we have a number of people who signed up. I'm going to read these names into the record quickly here. Who signed a petition, or not a petition, but a sign-up sheet on the way in. The following people have signed in favor of the proposal and do not wish to speak. So these people who are here tonight wish to come and express their support for the Colonial Theater renovation project, but do not wish to speak tonight. They include Shirley Richardson, Becky Geyer, Lynn Dadian, I'm going to have trouble with these, Raylan Cottrell, apologize if I messed that one up. No, you did great. Meredith Horton, Beth Sansucci, Suzanne Purley, Catherine Holt, Judith Buswell, Scott Allward, oh boy, I think it's Aaron, but I'm not sure. Aaron Witham?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Hillary Ayers, Mike Kopfer, Did I pronounce that correctly? What's this one? Robert Legassi, I think. Debbie Bolduc, Catherine Smith, Jean Compton, Mary Jane Hoey, Tony Felch. I'm not sure of this one. I think it could be, its last name is clearly Sullivan. First name is perhaps Karen? Is there a Karen? Emily Clement and Kevin Sullivan and Carrie Ordway. And then in addition to that, okay, there's more that have come in then since. Again, people expressing favor of the proposal who do not wish to speak tonight. Jane Wood, Nancy Rossetti, not sure of that at all. Rousset possibly. Nicole Fernandez, Chris Fernandez, Valerie Kimball, Carl Kimball. Karen did speak. Must have changed your mind, Mrs. Borger. Sharon Waldron. Mr. St. Clair changed his mind too, as did Mr. Wood. We got some people who got over their stage fright after they signed in, I think. That's a good sign. Okay, in addition to that, I would like for the public record to lead some brief statements that were emailed to me personally into the public record, one of which comes from Bob Selig. Most of us know Mr. Selig as the longtime head of the Laconia Library Board of Trustees and also as the president and CEO of the Taylor community. He writes, I regret that I will be out of town Monday night at a board directors meeting at which I must preside and thus unable to testify on how important and significant that turning the Colonial Theater into a community auditorium in downtown will be for the business community of Laconia. It will be a center attraction to bring people to downtown. The programs and entertainment that will be centered there will attract people from near and far to the area. Just having and using a community auditorium will bring Laconia into a different place and emphasize that Laconia is not just another mill town. When used correctly, the Colonial will emphasize culture and fun, and as such will help attract the kind of employers and their executives who can make Laconia grow and bloom again. The entertainment displayed there will attract visitors and build and bolster our tourism industry. I congratulate you and our city councilors for your insight and foresight, and I thank you for looking to a strong future for Laconia. I look forward to working with you, make this a financial reality. Signed, Bob Selig. I have one letter here from Thomas R. Selling of Old North Main Street. He writes, I am in favor of the Colonial Theater being renovated to its former glory. My hope and expectation is that it will become a catalyst for downtown businesses. However, I am not in favor of using the city's funds, even if it is a loan, because of the precedent of using public funds for such a venture. Benjamin Franklin put it best when he said, quote, if we and our posterity shall be true to the Christian religion, if we and they shall live always in the fear of God and shall respect his commandments, if we and they shall maintain just moral sentiments and such conscientious convictions of duty as shall control the heart and life we may have the highest hopes of the future fortunes of our country. And he adds parenthetically, city, it will have no decline and fall. It will go on prospering and to prosper, end quote. God bless the city of Laconia and God bless the United States of America. That was from Mr. Thomas Selling. For the record, I won't read this one because it's been referred to a couple times. I did receive an email today from Mark Primo, the President and Chief Executive Officer of Bank of New Hampshire. I just wanted it for the record that he be entered individually as well as by the couple of people who mentioned his name tonight. We've already heard his sentiment. Finally, I have a short email from Dean Anson II, addressed to Honorable Laconia City Councilors and City Manager. I have maintained a vacation residence in Laconia from 1992 to 2006 and have become a full-time resident starting in 2006. In the part-time portion of my residence, I took my family to the movies at the Colonial Theater. Since becoming a full-time resident, I watched the theater building deteriorate and realized it needed to be renovated. Therefore, I totally support the City of Laconia's purchasing and renovating this grand building. Those are the emails I received. And then we also got here, mention these names for the record, Mr. Moriarty presented us, so I won't read all these, but I'll read the names if I can into the record tonight so they can be part of the record. We mentioned Mr. Primo, Kathleen and Brad Brown, owners of Dance On Dance Apparel on Messer Street, Tim Cameron of Akbar Studio, Photographic Studio on Canal Street, Mr. Selling, which I already read that one, Stephen E. Wainwright, and Melissa McCarthy, a merchant on Canal Street. So this will be part of the public record as well. Their comments and their names will be part of the record. Okay, what am I forgetting? Anything else we need to cover before we close the public portion of this hearing? Anyone else want to speak or be recognized? Okay, I will close the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting then at 11 minutes past 8. At this point in time, we'll be back, we're bringing it back to the council for discussion and comment, and I would open the floor to councilors' comments on the subject of public benefit of the city's participation in the purchase and renovation of the Colonial Theater. Who would like to start? Not everybody at once. How about Ward 1?
Okay.
Mrs. Doyle.
I was taking notes, just kind of briefly listening to what people were saying and jotting down words that were used, and I don't think that there's a whole lot that can be said besides what's already been said, but what I heard were things like it's intangible, it's a shot in the arm, it's an anchor, revitalization, catalyst. I'd like to add that it's a bright spot in the community. I'd also like to mention that by coincidence, I have become friends with someone that lives in Indiana that actually grew up in Laconia. And when she heard this news, she sent me a message that said she thought it was absolutely great because she remembered as a child going to the Colonial and watching movies there. And I just thought how ironic that this little spot in the middle of New Hampshire is making a wave somewhere in the middle of the United States. And I just think it's great. I think it's just an amazing idea, and I'm glad that people in downtown came up with it so many years ago.
Thank you. Councilor Bounds?
This is the best darn meeting of the city council that I have gone to in my life. Thank you. I was one of the guys boys and girls who saw Ben-Hur or the Ten Commandments or Mary Poppins at the Colonial Theater. That was a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I'm humbled to be a part of this council that's going to make this happen. Just humbled. And I'm so proud of all of you. The public benefit has been spoken of eloquently many times, and all I can say is yes to all of that. And perhaps to paraphrase my kids, Laconia rocks.
It would be my grandkids that would be saying that, maybe your kids, but Councilor Lippman.
I'd first like to, we've talked a lot about the city, but Belknap Economic Development Council, in terms of the work that they did to help bring this about, I think they deserve our thanks. I took one phone call today on sort of the economic aspect of this, and I think the point I'd like to bring out in my conversation with that individual was that could that 1.4 million be used on something else in the city? And my point is, we're actually not spending. A loan is not the equivalent of spending it, okay? Basically, the city is taking money that it has to hold in reserve otherwise to be a healthy financial entity, and we'll be loaning it and actually probably earning more interest income on their reserves than they would otherwise. So from the importance of approaching this in an economically sound fashion so that it's sustainable for us as a city, and doesn't take away from other important things. I think this project, in terms of putting together a public-private partnership, is what's needed to do so. I think that the New Hampshire statutes envision that municipalities can issue bonds or loans or notes in support of an economic purpose, and I think from what we heard tonight, that's clearly in the public interest to do so. And I don't think the city of Laconia should be left aside. There are many other communities that have taken advantage of different opportunities they have to tap into the types of tax credits and what have you to turn their communities around. And I think the fact that we have the Belknap Economic Development Council and the city partnering in this, as well as others who will be, I'm sure, makes this the type of thing that puts the city moving forward and accomplishing something that is clearly valuable both from an economic, cultural, and a social fabric standpoint. So it has my unanimous support.
Thank you. Councilor Bear.
I have a couple of things. The first thing is, I've been sitting on the council for 10 years now. And when I came on the council, my objective was to revitalize downtown, or to see it revitalized. And it's been very discouraging. And I, like Rod, thought this is the end. We haven't got anything more to pull. But thanks, the second part, you've all thanked us for what we did. We didn't do anything. The tribute, the thank yous, must go to the people behind the scenes who did all the work, the Belknap County Economic Development and its members, particularly Henry Lippman and Mayor Engler. You don't know how hard they've worked. And then the past commissions that we've had on the Colonial, the Main Street objectives, and most of all, the merchants and all you people who have stayed the course and have stuck with it. You're the people that have to be thanked, because if you had all left and abandoned, we wouldn't have gone forward, with this. And I just believe, like Mayor Seymour stole my word, it's the catalyst. And I really believe that everything is going to pop, although it's already started in many ways.
Councilor Hamel.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight and giving us your input. It's all been very positive. I'm sure there's people out there that might feel different from you, but I'm glad you showed up to give us your input. My wife and I, Kay, have always been theater lovers. We've gone to many performances all around. We've been to the Palace Theater to see Don Knotts, been to the Capitol Theater to see doo-wop bands. We've been to Branson to see Phantom of the Opera, New York City to see Phantom of the Opera, and Boston Wang Center to see Phantom of the Opera. I love that one. Pardon?
It's kind of getting that.
Yeah, and we've been to Franklin to see Winthrop Boswell sing. So we've been to a few theaters, and damn, it'll be nice just to be able to walk from Highland Street to go here and see something here. Thinking of something in the past, Joe Cormier and myself were co-chair of the Hewitt Center on that building project, along with the stadium. And former Mayor Matt Leahy was the chairman of fundraising. And to see what the JBC and Matt and others did to make that project come to fruition, we have a state-of-the-art Hewitt Center, science rooms, and a football stadium or sports stadium. And to see the community get together and to do what it did there, it was just amazing. And I really don't see any reason why that can't happen with this project. I've been here 10 years also, and for 10 years we've been trying to do something. And this goes back even long before I was here, and I don't know, Amon's been here forever, so I don't know if it goes beyond him. But the theater's been a 20-year drag on the city and a 20-year drag on downtown. And it's going to be nice to see that open. And I also saw the 10 Commandments when I was probably younger, I don't know. But it was great. In looking into this, if this would have been, I have to be honest, if this would have been just a public project, I probably would not have voted for it. But the way the financing came together, the loans, the paybacks, and what this could mean to the community, I don't see how you could not vote for this. It'll be a great thing for downtown. It'll be a great place for older individuals that can go there and reminisce of what it was. And it'll be a great place for younger people to go and see what theater really is. So thank you.
Councilor Bolduc?
I don't know where to start. I haven't been to all those theaters that Bob mentioned, but I've been to the Lakeport Theater, I've been to the Gardens Theater, and I've been to the Colonial Theater. And when you're born and brought up on a farm, there's only a lot of work over there, and you don't have time to go here, there, and everywhere. But I've been fortunate to have been, I'm serving my 32nd year on the city council. And I enjoy every minute of it. I enjoy talking to the people and trying to solve their problems. And this Colonial Theater has been, I haven't got much hair left, but it's been in there for a long time. And this is the 4th time I've come to the table, and it's finally going to happen to sign this agreement. I give a lot of credit to the Belknap County Association and so forth, but also I think the city manager deserves a big hand in this to come up with this funding. And I just can't wait to see it complete. We used to go to those theaters when we were younger, and the Gardens Theater is another one that's a gem, and hopefully someday maybe this city can do something about that one. But again, I just want to thank everybody that had anything to do with this, and I think that it's going to be a big shot in the arm down here at the Main Street, and it's going to help out an awful lot of people here. So again, I want to thank you all for coming. It's great to see this room full out there when we meet, and don't be bashful. Come back and see us on everything. Because when we pass this budget, everybody's going to write and say, oh my God, how are we going to pay our taxes? But it always happens, and we have you in mind whenever we spend any money, and believe me, it's not easy, but we have to keep moving forward. So thank you very much, and I'm sure this will work out great for the city of Laconia.
All right, thank you, councilors. A final word, if I could. I want to first cover one technicality with regard to public benefit, and that is the statute that I referred to earlier under the Municipal Finance Act, Section 33:3. I will repeat, says that municipalities or counties are able to participate in public capital improvement, economic development partnerships, so long as the body determines that the public benefit of such an action exceeds any private benefit. And I think we all know the answer to that question in this situation, but one clincher, if there is a need for one, and I don't think there is that I want to point out that in this case, it is a private-public partnership in the sense that we have a government and a non-government entity cooperating for this purpose, but the non-government entity in this particular case is a nonprofit organization. In fact, several nonprofit organizations will be involved in the actual paperwork of this, including one, as I understand it, which is a 501c3 organization, which is an officially registered charitable organization with the Internal Revenue Service. So there is no question on any number of fronts in my mind that the purchase and renovation of the Colonial Theater is of public benefit far exceeding any private benefit. And that's an easy determination. And the final thing I will say, trying not to repeat all the wonderful things that have been said here tonight by you, and thank you for being here, as all the counselors have stated, is I said at the press conference, and I'll repeat it for those of you who weren't there, I think the real bottom line here, and I've had a number of discussions, as Councilor Lippman was mentioning tonight, with people about this since the announcement was made, and the real bottom line here to me is in terms of the public involvement of this aspect of it, and using tax dollars and the potential of tax dollars in terms of operating the auditorium as a civic auditorium. This is the kind of decision that we as a government, as a people, make together. This is a decision that your elected representatives, in effect, because that's our system here, are making for you, for the people that elected us. But what in effect is happening here is we're saying that in our judgment, it is to the collective benefit of all the residents of Laconia that this theater be renovated and that this theater be operated as a civic facility, no different than the library, O-Pee-Chee Park, Endicott Rock Park, or whatever. That's what we're basically saying here. And I respect those who would disagree with that sentiment, perhaps, but I think in my own judgment, the vast majority of the people of Laconia do agree with that sentiment and will back this action. So having said that, we'll proceed to the resolution. Councilors, we have a resolution in front of us tonight, and I will read that into the record. Sorry, Councilor Lippman.
I guess I just, before you do that, or taking some time out to discuss that before we read it to the public.
Okay, go ahead.
There is one component of the resolution in terms of the ownership for a 7-year period that's connected to the tax credits and the like, that we potentially would state in here that it would be nonprofit corporations. And as you articulated, there are nonprofit organizations that will be involved. And I just want to make sure when we make this resolution, we're leaving ourselves the flexibility for either nonprofit or profit organizations to be involved in this in terms of the 7-year hold in case there are any tax incentives that require a other than a non-for-profit to take advantage of them.
So the comment then would be directed toward the words "all be"?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe we could substitute, let me see.
I think
Would predominantly be?
You know, I guess I would like to leave ourselves the flexibility to, as we engineer or as BEDC engineers the financing of this, to have the flexibility to have the right mix of for-profit, nonprofit in the transaction.
So what are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that I don't know that we need to even state nonprofit or for-profit. I think just if it said, whereas the owners, both direct and indirect, of the renovated Colonial Theater properties will for a period of at least 7 years. I think the concept is that they have to hold the building for 7 years in order for the tax credits.
Well, the reason that statement was in there was to add to the preponderance of evidence that this is to the public good, not private good.
Right.
We don't even need, we could take it out entirely if it doesn't serve that purpose.
Well, I think that, again, having had some involvement in looking at tax credit, different programs, that sometimes they can't be used by nonprofits. You have to use a for-profit to pull it there. And so I think if we want to say something to the effect that, to the extent that it helps the project move forward, that's one thing I think I just don't want to say exclusively. So I'm sorry to wordsmith something on the fly here.
Can't we just,
Well, if we don't want to necessarily make that point, we could just take this out altogether. It would probably be the simplest, that one clause.
can't we just do it this way? Just say, all be not-for-profit or for-profit corporations, and then take the language, and one of those corporations may be a 501(c). So you've just changed one word, you put in or profit, and you've taken out the mandate, at least one, and one of those corporations may have 501 charitable status.
Well, this statement is merely putting into writing the corporate structure that exists today.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I do, I don't think changes that, just gives you the option that Councilor Littman is looking for, unless I'm doing this wrong.
Are you comfortable with that?
I'm thinking about that, but also just throw out another option here. I think I don't think the public benefit is driven by whether the company that owns it is for-profit or non-profit. I think that you know, we've got the retail, we've got the housing, and then we've got the public space that would be made available for at least that 7-year period. I mean, I think that the fact that that's being made available to the public either through for-profit or non-profit, I think is irrelevant. The fact that it will be available is the relevant thing. So I think I like your idea of just taking out that altogether.
All right, I think that would be the cleanest thing. It doesn't serve the
I'm good with
purpose.
that.
Remove the whole paragraph.
So we're talking about removing that whole paragraph. Any other comments on any of the content before I read the resolution?
That's the last paragraph, right.
This is the last whereas.
You just strike the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Okay. A resolution of the Laconia City Council. Whereas New Hampshire RSA 33:3 expressly authorizes municipalities to issue bonds or notes for purposes of economic development, which shall include public-private partnerships involving capital improvements, loans, and guarantees. And whereas the Laconia City Council did on May 26, 2015, commit to loan a limited liability corporation formed by the Belknap Economic Development Council for the purpose of purchasing the 3 Colonial Theater buildings in downtown Laconia, a sum of up to $1.5 million for up to 18 months. And whereas the BEDC has secured a purchase and sales agreement to gain title to these properties for the sum of $1.4 million, and whereas a closing on the Colonial Theater properties is expected to occur no later than July 17, 2015, and whereas it is considered vital to the economic vitality of the downtown area and the overall city that this historic property be renovated and put to productive use, and whereas the city has a clear need for a first-class general-use auditorium space, and whereas BEDC has committed itself to spend approximately $13.2 million renovating the Colonial Theater properties, and whereas the Laconia City Council did on May 26, 2015, commit to lease a renovated 800-plus seat Colonial Theater auditorium from BEDC for a term of 7 years, And whereas the Laconia City Council did on June 29, 2015, hold a public hearing for the purpose of allowing residents, property taxpayers to testify on the subject of whether the purchase and renovation of the Colonial Theater properties would result in a significant public benefit. Now therefore be it resolved that the Laconia City Council on the 29th day of June 2015 finds the public benefit in a private partnership involving the purchase and renovation of the Colonial Theater properties outweighs any benefit accruing to a private party. Someone move that resolution. Moved by Counselor Bolduc, seconded by Counselor Bear. Any discussion of the resolution? All those in favor of adopting the resolution, please raise a hand. Vote is 6-0. The resolution is adopted. Thank you so much for all of you coming tonight. Without objection, I will declare the meeting adjourned at 8:36 p.m.